Me and contenders ain't got no relation. So what you in if ain't no reparation? How much you spending on your preparation? I'm about them binges so to win and be the motivation. Determination is intention plus the willpower. Real power, pressure you should feel ours. Bills tower over us, I overcome. I'm overcomes. I need direct transactions. Don't wanna wait till you load the funds. You hold the funds and Joe's will come. Promote the curve, demote your son. I overthrow the CEO. I'm taking over some. The chosen one, you throw me one. You owe me two. You holding one. I'm holding you accountable. Act like you owe me one. Look, every lesson learned is a lesson taught. Every blessing earned is a blessing caught. Promise I'm meek and humble and grateful for every bit. The head is heavy, so your promise have a heavy fit. The Biggdogg Chico Show. That's sports talk. Sco Bug. Joe Flo.
Sco Buffs. Biggdogg Chico Show. Got a special show and a segment. It's going to be wrapped right into this one right here. I got a special guest coming on. We usually do Buff 'em updates. Y'all can stay tuned for more of that coming this spring with myself and my main man, Adam Mustard Tiger. So stay tuned for that. Buff 'em updates. We'll be back. We'll be making an appearance. It should be going on right now, but I had the Biggdogg Chico Show scheduled, and I have to get more graphics done, to be quite honest with you guys. So that's without further ado, let's bring along my main man, Adam Mustard Tiger. How you doing, Adam? What's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chico. How are you?
I'm doing good too, man. Finally, we're back on once again in a different capacity. You're joining me on Biggdogg Chico Show, but like we said before, for all the people who tuning in, who usually see us together on Buff 'em updates, nothing has changed. We will be back more in the spring, as the spring will be starting and popping off March the 11th, right, Adam? And that's when we'll probably get back to some things. Talk to me. How's it been? Just with all the news coming in, the coaching changes and everything. How's it been from your end?
It's been good. Like I feel like after the Alamo Bowl, got a chance to kind of catch my breath a little bit, and then we got into the contact period for recruiting, which is pretty busy when you work for 24/7 Sports because you're doing a lot of the recruiting coverage. So there were so many offers put out, Chico. When you look at new guys that they've targeted in the 2026 class, 2027, and even 2028. And that's crazy because our oldest is a freshman in high school. And I'm like, I'm calling these young men that are as old as you. And it just kind of just blows my mind a little bit that these young men are kind of thrust in the spotlight that early. But I don't know if it's because of social media and just the fact that they're exposed to more at a young age. Like some of these interviews are fantastic with like 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And I'm impressed. But now we're kind of transitioning in, and I feel like we do need to do a Buff 'em updates before spring ball because you're starting to see recruiting really rev up. And I just put a thread up on buffstampede.com that we're going to be tracking these visitors that are scheduling visits. You kind of go from that winter contact period where everybody's going to talk really highly of that new offer. So I reach out to these guys. I do feel like the ones that get back to me, because I full on tell them I cover Colorado. If they get back to me, it's kind of an early sign of, okay, he kind of has interest. But it's really when they schedule that visit to Colorado that you know as a Colorado fan that they're really interested in. And today we found out that quarterback Oscar Rios, I was just watching his film before I came on with you, and that's a good looking quarterback prospect. He's going to take an official visit to Colorado. So that's been kind of the fun part of it. The college football off season is so long, but you have these little snippets of things that kind of keep your attention, recruiting to spring ball to summer work. And you tune into Well Off and you get to see Chauncey Gooden scream out, "Big boys got to eat." And you get this feeling of being a fan throughout the off season. So that's fun.
Absolutely. A lot of new faces, as you said. We will be diving right into it. But if you guys want to get updated right now, y'all can go to buffstampede.com. Shout out to my main man, William Gardner, also. You guys been tag teaming and still doing your thing and great content from you guys also. So everybody, y'all check that out. We're going to get into some coaching decisions and things like that. Of course, we've been seeing, guys for the last couple of seasons, of course, Coach Prime brings some guys in, and then, you'll see some guys leaving out. Dancy going back home to Mississippi State. Now we got D. Lou going back home to Miami to be the D-line coach there. We still have Sap on that D-line. We still have Coach Hilo moving out there to the edges. And now we're going to have a defensive line coach come in to work with Coach Sap on the D-line to replace Coach D. Lou. From your perspective, from your point of view, what do you think this move will bring to Colorado?
Well, it's good that you bring guys in like a George Hilo that is willing to have a different role, kind of get the lay of the ground, lay of the land, I guess I should say, in terms of Colorado. And that's a guy you want to keep on staff from everything I've heard. So to be able to find a role for him, I think is good, because otherwise, he's a talented coach and there are opportunities elsewhere for somebody like him. So to be able to find that role to keep him in Boulder, I think was good. I've seen some comments about, well, a lot of these are lateral moves, and it's like, I don't really agree with that, because Damian Lewis is a Miami alum. Come on. You can't hold that against him to want to go back there.
Right.
That's not fair. Or Phil Lodeholt in Vincent Dancy, that was just probably a more natural fit for what they felt like. But as we've seen under Coach Prime, since he got to Boulder, they find a good job of filling those roles. And the O-line is going to be really interesting, Chico. I'm curious your take on this, but having kind of that three-pronged coaching effort with Gunnar White and George Hageman, and you bring in Andre Garrod, how do you kind of see that working out? I think it's good because you've got guards, guys that played center. Hageman played tackle and guard. So I feel like you've got kind of a diverse set of tools you can implement into these young men.
Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is right there, what we saw in the past. I think with the defensive line last year, everybody was like, how is, Sap going to work with D. Lou and Dancy? Sap is the Hall of Famer. Will he well, if you watch Wednesdays with Warren Sapp said, man, check your ego at the door, and he left his ego at a bus down, in Miami and in Canton, Ohio, you know what I'm saying? So, and with the Super Bowl ring. So he doesn't have an ego once he steps into that room. And I think that's going to be the same dynamic on the offensive side of the ball with these three guys, Gunnar White, Coach Hageman, and the former Buff Andrew Garrard. I think they're going to check their egos at the door and realize that we all can work together for one common goal. We have different nuances that we could bring to this team. I think Andrew being Andre being a natural center, I think he's going to be able to take on that natural leadership role just naturally. He'll take over that room, I think. Gunnar White is going to be there, solidifying what he's been doing with Coach Prime in the past few years. At Jackson State and now in Colorado. So I think Coach Prime is doing what he's like to do also, and that is elevate from within. This guy's been there. He's paid his dues, so we're going to elevate him from within. We're going to bring in Garrard, and he can add what he can add to it, because we know he has some things that he can add, being a former XFL offensive line coach, former Cowboy, Pro Bowler, All-Pro. He has the knowledge, and he knows what to do. And me personally, I feel like just naturally a center is going to be that leader of the squad. So him stepping into a coaching role, I think it's even more natural for a center, a guy who plays center, to do that than for a guy who even played tackle. That's no knock on Coach Lodeholt or any other coach who played tackle. I just feel like centers have a better grasp on the entire offensive line rather than a guy like a tackle who's kind of playing on the island. He doesn't have to work as much like the center is going to be, working directly with those guys next to him, the guards, and then moving out to those tackles. So I think Andrew Garrard and Andre, I keep saying Andrew, speaking of Swayze, am I saying that right? I'm tripping. Andre,
yep. Versus Andrew, yeah.
I'm looking at that, but Andre, one of my favorite players back in the day. I used to play with him on Madden when I hated Romo though, but Dre was a baller, man. I think he's going to check his ego at the door. and working with Big George Hageman and Gunnar White. I think they're going to be a great team in that offensive line room, and the recruiting is going to be a help also because of the connections that Dre has with the Colorado whole Buff Nation and that area, and wherever he can step into a room to a high school and demand that respect from those young offensive linemen. So I think it's going to be great, man. I think Coach Prime made a great move. It's definitely not a lateral move. It's an elevated move. That's what I think.
It's all about chemistry with those guys, right? If you have the right chemistry, then you don't have too many cooks in the kitchen, and you've got a great situation there. Andre he was a dog back in Colorado. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to cover him in person. In fact, a colleague, not on your platform, but somebody said that if he was pre-Adam Munster Tiger covering the Colorado Buffaloes, he must be a dinosaur, and that kind of offended me. No, he was. I've talked to so many people that I trust that covered him when he played at Colorado, and there is just eyes light up when they talk about him. He is somebody down in the trenches that was kind of that quintessential humility, but he's going to just put you into the ground every time. So I'm really anxious to get a chance to talk to him for the first time.
Absolutely. Got a lot of recruits coming in, different players, replacement guys from Bentley and NHG Nikai Hill Green at the linebacker spot. We have French from UTSA. You got Reginald Hughes from Jacksonville State. You got the young guy, Montravius, coming in, or Montrez coming in from Walker. How do you see that linebacker room shaping out this year with Coach Hart and so on the defensive side of the football and the linebackers?
Oh, that's going to be one of the more open-ended competitions, I think, going into spring ball. But, French and Hughes stand out. I'm anxious to see what Jeremiah Brown does. It's been kind of an interesting 6, 7, 8 months for him, going from being a real big-time special teams contributor, playing a little bit, and then deciding that he was going to redshirt, and then hitting the portal, and then coming back and seeing him this summer. And obviously for a linebacker, he's got great speed. I think that's wide open. I look across the team, not just linebacker, Chico, and it's like left tackle, I put in Penn, Jordan Seaton. If Jaheim Otis is healthy, I probably put him in as a starter on that defensive line.
Yeah.
At corner, DJ McKinney, probably nickel, Preston Hodge, Colton Hood, you would think is going to step up. But aside from that, maybe Carter Stoutmeyer on the back end. But there are so many just wide open competitions going on across this team. I have never – I'm just flat out saying this, and this is honest. I've never been more excited about a spring ball coming up because there's so much to learn about this football team and so much talent. How does this all shake out once we get into that competition phase of things on the football field?
Yeah. Kind of like definitely the first phase and the first time Coach Prime is going without his sons and without so much of knowing what happened in the past, with Shiloh, Travis, Shador, and all Cameron Simon, Craig, all the guys he was familiar with. Now it's kind of like that, like you said, open end competition. This question mark is there. What's going to happen now? It's a new era in Colorado and for the coaching of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, to see how it's going to work out. But these two new quarterbacks he has in this whole new roster, you got to get to know these guys, got to understand what's going to make them tick, and I think that's what Coach Andrew Swayze, is forging right now with these guys as he's, the team is with him more than anybody right now. He's like the head coach, the strength and conditioning guy. So I think Coach Prime can say, man, after you working with them, who are the leaders? What makes this guy tick? He could talk to his strength and conditioning coach and learn about these guys before he even, get around them, because once his time come, they're going to be with Coach Prime and the coaching staff then once spring kicks off. So that's what, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays they're going to be practicing. So, getting these guys in shape right now mentally is the main thing for Coach Swayze. And then once they get with Coach Prime and their position coaches, it's takeoff time for them to install and learn what they need to do. And to just switch over real quick, you mentioned Jaheim Otis. who I'm very excited about. You get him, you already have Anquin Barnes. You got big Amari McNeil. Uh, Taufik. Just those four right there without even going too far in are some monsters on the defensive line. How excited are you about those guys and about what they can do and bring this season?
Yeah, I want to throw Torian Carter's name in there too, right?
Victorian too.
Yeah. That was a guy that you started to hear as we got closer to the 2025 season of this is going to be a real stud in this program. And unfortunately, he had the injury and didn't really get a chance to show that this past season. So I think that the defensive line, I can't remember the last time I said this about the Colorado Buffaloes. I think their defensive line is actually probably the strength of this football team right now going into spring ball. You've got depth. You're going to be able to rotate those guys through there. If you have some injuries, then the depth might take a hit, but you're still going to have bodies rolling through there. And so that's been a position that's done a really good job of they've done a really good job of just kind of cultivating that depth in a short period of time. I think O-line, you're intrigued with a lot of those pieces, but it's not established as much as that D-line is right now.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm excited about those rush ends too with Tajay McCoy, Big Arden Walker, and then the young guys, London, Merritt, and McPherson. Defensive line can really be something special, especially with George Hilo coaching those edges now. You saw how meticulous he was last year, before and after the games, and working with the linebackers, the inside linebackers. He's going to bring a dynamic to the edge guys. I think that's going to be, a step up even from what Coach Dancy did with all the experience that Coach Hilo has.
Yeah, assuming the chemistry is there, and I wouldn't imagine that Coach Prime would elevate him if that was not there inside the building with Coach Sapp, and then whoever you're going to hire for that defensive line coaching job. But Hilo is somebody that is very smart and seems to have a really good connection with Robert Livingston. So you've got Livingston that's coaching safeties on the back end. You've got Hilo in that front seven. I think that chemistry is pretty good with those guys. And, Andre Hart took some, I thought maybe premature criticism last offseason because they didn't like the linebacker play during Coach Prime's first season in Boulder, but that was maybe the group that surprised me the most last year. So I'm anxious to see what he does with that group as well.
Yeah, I like those guys that he has. I think he wanted to get more athletic at that linebacker spot. No hate on the tag team Road Warriors last year, but I think that's exactly what he did with Hughes and French and even Salter back there. He got more athletic sideline to sideline type guys and guys who can get on the other side of the ball to make plays. French had, I think, 17 plus tackles for loss at UTSA. That's exactly what we need. That's a different type of linebacker than what we've had. NHG was pretty good getting back there, making some plays in the backfield, but I think this is what this guy's MO is. Just sifting out the plays before they happen, reading the guards, and getting in the backfield to make those tackles for loss. That's going to be a difference maker on this ball club if French can bring that same type of production to Colorado.
I want to see what Montrez Walker does on special teams this year, because I could see him being a bit player his first year, but being kind of the new face of that linebacker position. It might not be in 2025, but that's one of the recruits that I had kind of circled on my list when I was doing an earlier interview of guys that I just wanted to really highlight because I think they have a bright future in Boulder.
Mm-hmm. I think another guy.
I don't know if it's going to come in 2025. I mean, that's a lot to ask.
But like you said, coming in as a freshman middle linebacker, you got guys in front of you who's been productive. If he can be a spot guy, special teams guy, punt coverage type guy, and actually make plays there, and if he had to fill in at the linebacker spot, could do that, then I think that'll be a successful year for him at the end of the day for Montrez. A guy who was a freshman last year, explosive. We've seen on well-off videos and Reach the People, whichever one it was that just posted, where Brandon Hood, the running back, looked like he was the fastest on the team, at least for that split. I think Cam McHale won the battle also. But that explosion on the offensive side of the football with Cam Michael and Brandon Hood, will we see a lot from them this year? Or what are you expecting, with seeing that explosion from Hood in the backfield? And then you still have Hayden, still got Augustus, Michael Welch. What's the running back room looking like? And then we'll go to the wide receivers.
I think I like Cam Michael as much as I did any of those signees in their class. What is that, like 13, 14 months ago now?
Yeah.
And so it was a bummer that he got hurt. And it's one of those things, I think even reporters fall into this, fans as well. Like, new is always exciting because you're talking about new guys joining the program. And it's not that anybody forgot about Cam Michael, but when he went out there for warm-ups at the Alamo Bowl, it's like, oh my gosh, I almost did forget about him. He's a really fast football player. I think you could put him at running back. You could put him in the Wildcats, the way they did with Isaiah Harge this past season. Just go back and look at Cam Michael's footage. And I understand college is a different animal, but he's got a different gear. So I think he's going to kind of be a little bit of what you saw Draylon Miller be this past season, of somebody that is not going to line up in the same role every time. You're going to see him move around a little bit. Who's the other guy you mentioned there?
Brendan Hood out of the backfield.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there's a reason they didn't bring in a transfer running back, right? Like, it's not just Isaiah Augusta, not Michael Welch and Charlie Offerdell and Dallin Hayden. I think Brandon Hood had a big say in that as well, of giving you depth there. You do want 5 guys deep at that position at least. It's tough to go beyond that because guys want carries. It's hard to keep them in your program if you can't at least kind of promise them some type of role. So that's kind of where they are right now. I like Brandon Hood from what we saw to him at that open practice Colorado had down at Denver South High School last year.
Okay.
But aside from that, it's high school film. There hasn't been a whole lot else, but there's no question he's got that second gear. I like the fact that Brandon Hood, kind of like Isaiah Augusta, is one of those players that, at times it might look like he runs with high pad level, but like when they get to the point of contact, they lower that and they get forward and they get a couple of extra yards. And so he's got that knack to his game that I really like.
Absolutely. Shout out to B Hood and Colton Hood. The wide receivers, you mentioned, a little bit with Draylon Miller and Cam Michael, but another wide open type competition because you're bringing in so many young guys. I think it was Wilson, Farrakhan, Gibson, Joseph Williams, a few other guys, but you also have the returners and one big time returner coming off an injury who we've seen in spots, really flash when he's had the chance to. That's Amarion Miller. How big of a role will Amarion Miller play this year? Will he be the number 1 receiver? Will he be able to step up in that role? Or will it be somebody else emerge that we might not be calling their name right now?
I mean, the sky is the limit for Amarion Miller. Obviously, number 1, he's got to stay healthy. It seems like when he's had those breakouts, that's been an issue. The consistency part of it, you want to see, obviously. I think part of it is, like, if you're not getting a ton of reps as a receiver, it's sometimes hard to get into that flow. So I don't put that a whole lot on him. Like when he played in that second half of the USC game, he was out there most of the time, right? And that's when he started to kind of get in that groove. And I'm not saying you can expect 196 receiving yards out of him in a half on a regular basis, but he's one of those tough ball catchers that does some things on the practice fields that amaze you. I will throw Terrell Timmons Jr. in there as well. It does seem Timmons. Like it means so much to him. There's just such a leadership component to him that is important. And there were times this past year I felt like he was not in the groove. But again, it kind of goes back to, like, if you're not getting consistent reps, it's sometimes hard to, like, be at your best out there. But with Joseph Williams joining the mix, I might even be tempted to pencil him in as a starter based off what he did as a true freshman at where was he at? Tulsa. Tulsa, you've got enough pass catchers. It's such a different dynamic though than it was a year ago when you had Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, and you knew you were bringing in LeJontay Wester, and you just had this established group. Oh, Will Shepherd, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There was this experienced, established hierarchy. This year, it's going to be a lot of guys competing, but a lot of guys that have multiple years left of eligibility. Terrell Timmons Jr. is the only one that we mentioned here that does not have multiple years of eligibility. So you're going to have guys that can kind of continue to grow. And for that part of it, I think it'll be fun. It's tough to see LeJontay Wester come into Boulder as a Colorado fan, fall in love with everything he does, and then he's gone. These guys, if everything works out well, can be around for a few years.
Absolutely. Joseph Williams had 30 receptions, 588 yards, 5 TDs, 19.6 yards per catch last season at Tulsa. So he's explosive. He can get down the field. Yeah. But you mentioned, Terrell Timmons. I think he was, bothered by injury last year. Once he did get hurt with that lower leg injury, I think after that, it kind of lingered with him. Take that red shirt. Then you got Amarion Miller, Draylon Miller. I think those three will be your starters, like you said, with Joseph Williams with the chance to step in there and be a starter. And then you got a bunch of talented young guys, like you said, Cam Michael. Let me see, Wilson, Gibson, and Farrakhan. I think Gibson going to be that wild card, though, who can come in there and be electric, even in special teams. And if he finds the niche or a role right there in the slot, and now Draylon can be spelled a little bit, or he can play outside some with Miller and Timmons. Man, that might be my sleeper right there, would be Quinn Gibson. And it might not be much of a sleeper for all the people who came out of Texas who knows who he is.
Yeah, I mean, he was the Max Preps National Player of the Year. And I'm sorry, 24/7 Sports, I know you pay my paycheck, but I said this even on a video with them. It's ridiculous that he's a 3-star guy coming in. Come on, what are we doing here? I know some other sites have him as a 4-star, but I'm like, come on, man. Like, y'all have seen this guy.
Come on now, dog.
You're getting caught up on a size.
Yeah.
Turn on LeJontay Wester and what he did at Colorado. There's this a very strong place for a guy like that in this game.
Absolutely.
That we call it college football.
And I'm not forgetting Isaiah Harge, also the Swiss Army knife, who can play wide receiver or running back, you mentioned earlier, and can play on the defensive side of the football. So watch out for that gray jersey doing his best Travis Hunter impersonation this season. He could be a big one also. Let's see. Let's go to first of all, let's talk about Shedeur Sanders being back in Colorado working out. How important is that for the young players to see him and how he's working? And also you have 4 buffs headed to the NFL Combine, and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr. and LeJontay Wester. A lot of guys say that we have a few guys that might have got snubbed. We could have had at least 10 go to the Combine. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, without having the knowledge of all these other guys that got the invite, right? It's hard to say how many guys should have been invited from Colorado. It obviously is somebody that covers the buffs, and you'd want as many as possible to be able to watch that. But yeah, I'm just anxious to see what Jimmy Horn Jr., if he's fully healthy, can run in that 40-yard dash, because I think that could get him paid. LeJontay Wester, I'm sure, is going to run a good time as well, but his whole game is more kind of that short area quickness aspect of it. So I'm really glad for Jimmy Horn Jr., because I know this past year was pretty tough for him, just dealing with the injuries, and especially after the first game against North Dakota State, where he was just taken off and it seemed like his star was on the rise, and then to not be able to kind of build off that, I know was tough, but to still get this opportunity. And I know he did well in those East-West Shrine Bowl practices. So he's already got a little bit of a momentum coming from that. So we'll see. Is Shedeur going to do much at the Combine, or Travis as well?
I would guess, with Travis going in as a DB and me knowing the personality of Travis Hunter, I would guess, take an educated guess, that he would go out there and he's going to participate as if he's not the number one guy. And that means that maybe if not, maybe not run the 40. Maybe do that in a controlled time at the pro day. Maybe just do DB drills and then do wide receiver drills once again at pro day with Shador Sanders. So will Shador throw at the combine? I would guess no. I would say look at the film. The all-time leading completion percentage passer in college football. Of course, that's been in the news last couple of days. I would say look at the film. How many of the last projected top quarterbacks have participated in the draft in the last few years? I would say it's not been many, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect Shador to do anything too much at the. I think it would look like what he did at the bowl game, at the Senior Bowl, right? Just do a lot of interviews at the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
Do a lot of interviews, talk to all the teams. Every team that you didn't get a chance to talk to at the Shrine Bowl, you talk to now at the Combine in Indianapolis. And then for your wide receivers like Jimmy Horn Jr., LaJohntay West, Travis Hunter, everybody else who want to show, Will Shepherd, who want to showcase back home at the pro day, whether it's the school's pro day or the conference pro day, now you get to throw with your quarterback who you're familiar with, and you can show off your skills there. And I think Shador would just be doing that to help out his teammates. I don't think he has to throw a single pass from now into the draft to be drafted where he's projected to go.
Yeah, no, I told you that this is a spring ball that I've looked forward to the most in my time covering the Buffs. The pro timing day is the most. This is the most I've looked forward to covering that as well. I do want to see Travis Hunter do the vertical in front of me. That would be fun. I know he did it during testing and whatnot behind closed doors when they were doing
42.
Testing.
I'll say right now, 42.
And I just want to see that. I just want to see it. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, they got to jump out the gym. But yeah, I think that's what I would expect from them. Pro day going to be huge though at Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, what do you expect from that? Hell, we might see some tailgating going on, right?
I don't know. They don't let fans in, so you got to get some kind of credential to get in there. So, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people trying to sneak through that door. I'm sure
they're going to show up. I think this is last chance, and let me hype it up a little bit. Last chance that you'll see Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, and the rest of the guys doing anything like this college related. As still, Colorado Buffalo. This is your last chance, dog. Go get a glimpse of them walking in or something. Go set the atmosphere and have a barbecue in the air and smelling good or something out there. But this is your last chance. You might as well.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. No, yeah. I can't wait for that. This is going to be a fun spring. Again, it kind of bridges the gap from this really long off season it's sometimes torturous because you get into that season mode and you're used to seeing this team compete, but there's these little glimmers of things that you can really look forward to.
Marshall Faulk will be added to that running backs room. He'll be coming there. How excited are you about seeing Marshall Faulk in Colorado?
Yeah, it's another Hall of Famer you get to interview, which is pretty cool, right? So yeah, 3 of them.
Yeah, no, I definitely Hall of Famer, man.
When Warren Sapp came to talk to us for the first time, it was one of those like, okay, be professional. This is your job. And he was so great with us. And I just want to hear what Marshall Faulk has to say about the running back position, because we've always heard him be this technician of the game, somebody that had such a high football IQ, but it makes sense. Like, he's set up for life to not really want to have to get into this whole coaching grind, but you get enough of a break. I mean, as any human being, you could win the lottery tomorrow. And if you don't have things to fill up your life to make it meaningful, it goes down a pretty depressive path. And not to say that was with Marshall Faulk, but just any human being, you need things that are going to kind of get you out of bed in the morning, get you excited, get you at times. You don't want to be out of your comfort zone at times, but when you do, you look back and go, that was the best thing for me in that situation. And so I'm really anxious to see just kind of how these young running backs kind of respond to his coaching. And you got Tommy Robinson in there. So you've got kind of like the O-line group. You've got this great team that you can provide where maybe one coach has a little bit more of a strong hand in terms of recruiting. Another one's a little bit more on campus and selling guys when they take their visits. I'd imagine that'll be the case with Marshall Faulk. I don't think you're going to put him on the road 15 days in a row recruiting, but he's the guy when you bring a running back on campus can be a real closer, especially when the parents are there, because
yes,
anybody that is, I'm trying to remember when Marshall Faulk retired, but if you're over 30, you probably have seen him play, right? Or is my math off there?
Could be what, 20, could be 20 something, probably 28 or so now, and probably seen him or at least know about him from your parents or your uncles or something like that who might have told you, who might have told you about Marshall Faulk. Or you've seen highlights. He's not that old. It's not been that long, I don't think. But, Marshall Faulk, like you said, just being so technical, and you can hear it in his analysis, on the NFL Network. I think it's just going to be something that is going to be, like you said, instead of him being on the road 15 days in a row trying to recruit, I think the fact that his name holds that weight, that's the recruiting right there. For any coach, parent, somebody who has influence over a recruit, if they're not influencing them, same way I said about with Coach Prime when he became the head coach, same way I said when Coach Sapp became on that defensive line. If you're a defensive lineman, if you're a cornerback, or anybody who is a prospect who's possible going to a D1 school, and you have Colorado recruiting you, anybody who's influencing you should be telling you, hey, man, I don't know who that running back coach is at that university, but I know who this one is, and I know what he's done and where he's been. Maybe you need to go over there with Marshall. I think he's going to have a huge impact on recruiting and just the fact of wanting to go after those 5 stars. It's like we have the capabilities now. It's like I feel like I'm on Uncle Chico now if I make this analogy, but it's like if you're not going to go after a certain girl until you're presenting yourself a certain way almost. You're going to stay in your league until you get that certain car or get that certain income, get that certain look, get in shape, and that's what I feel like Colorado has done. They continue to elevate and bring in coaches that can continue to go after higher caliber prospects. And I think Marshall Faulk will undoubtedly be able to go after a 5-star guy coming here probably immediately to recruit for Colorado. So I'm excited about Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, credit to Coach Prime for building an infrastructure within this program where a Hall of Famer can have a really huge impact, but not get burned out. Like, you can't bring in a Hall of Famer and ask him to work 90 hours a week. That just does not really generally work out too well. So I think he's building kind of this environment where those guys are going to have such a huge role, but they're not necessarily just going to be burnt out after 1 year. You see Warren Sapp, and it seems like he's more excited now than he's ever been. And this is after a year coaching Colorado.
He's loving it. And as he said, he didn't understand until he got into it. And he's like, oh man, I'm loving it. And I'm looking forward to it each and every day. And I didn't know it until I got into it. I always said myself personally as a player, now I took it on the turn, but I always said, man, I'm never going to get in coaches. The coaches got to be here all the time, this early, before we get here, late after we leave. When do they have a family? Well, Coach Prime has taken that into, major consideration. He's saying, like, as you said, no need to have these guys here for 90 hours. We got other guys who can come in here and do that, who want to come in here and do that, who has time to come in here and do that, who doesn't have Hall of Fame on their resume, who might not even have a certain, like a family back home that they have to get to. So you have a guy who could pay their dues like a Gunnar White, who can come there and volunteer and then be a coach's assistant, grad assistant, and can work his way up and build that rapport with Coach Prime. And I think, now Coach Prime understands that I can bring in these guys with these big names, but who can really make an impact, but I don't need to burn them out. I have coaches there, especially with the rule change, with all the coaches they can have now. I have guys who can do that, who can do the dirty work. We want you to come in and be you, like Sapp said, I'm going to be the icing on that cake when the D-line coach comes in. Great. We love that. Put your Sapp-isms on there and let's be great. Before we get up out of here, the defensive line coach that will come in when that announcement is made, I think everybody will be excited about it. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to continue to elevate this coaching staff. And like I said about Marshall, the caliber of player that we'll be able to go after on that defensive line. Stay tuned for more. That's for everybody.
And that new D-line coach is going to have a pretty good group. So he's going to be walking into a nice situation. Yeah.
Yes, he's going to have something to work with. So, who doesn't want Warren Sapp as their hype man, right? Or their tag team partner, whatever you want to call it. He's on my side, the QB killer. I'll take it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But in this case, twice on Saturdays. So, hey, this has been another segment for Buff 'em Updates. If you guys have any questions, y'all can stay tuned for Buff 'em Updates. Myself and Adam, we're going to be dropping before the spring starts on March the 11th and bring you coverage and updates throughout the spring, headed into the summer and to the season, just as we did last year. All right, Adam, you want to leave them with something?
Yeah, get on buffstampede.com because we got a lot of recruiting coverage coming your way, and excited to continue to kind of delve into these 2026 recruits that are going to be the next wave of that future that are coming into Colorado. And it sounds like they're going to have more high school signees in this 2026 class than we've seen the previous few years under Coach Prime. So there's going to be a lot more of that high school recruiting stuff, which is kind of in our wheelhouse. And I love it. I got to try to find some of these road trips that we go on covering Colorado to be able to get a chance to watch some of these more of these guys in person. But I'm kind of getting revved up for high school recruiting today, if you can't tell. I've been watching a lot of film, and they have put out a lot of offers, and there is a lot of guys that seem to have pretty genuine interest in the Buff. So I expect this to be the highest ranked in the biggest prop class for the Buffaloes.
Nice. I had a few more questions I'm sure I wanted to ask you, and there's some in the chat, but we'll make sure we get to them on the next episode, like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, the next episode. So
sounds good.
Appreciate you, Adam, once again, man. Tell the fam I said hello. Tell William Gardner I said keep doing this thing. Hopefully we'll get on here, all three of us, once again, and talk some Colorado Buff football and everything else. Until next time.
Talk Buffs every day, but like Nate Dogg said, talk Buffs every day.
Adam had to leave us with one, baby. Talk Buffs every day. I like that.
We'll see you, Chico. Always appreciate you for having me on.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Talk Buffs every day. I like that, Adam. I might have to do something with that. Put that on a t-shirt or something. Hey, man. Biggdogg Chico show. I will be coming back to you guys as much as I can. In the meantime, you can check me out on Unc and Chico each and every Sunday night and Thursday nights. Then we have the morning run, Friday mornings. Let me pause there. Friday mornings, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, dog. Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. Y'all can check that out, the morning run. Also, You Tell Me with Uncle Neely and Dukes the Scoop. That's what I'll be producing. That's on Tuesdays. And what am I forgetting? Just more and more shows, man, coming on the Pregame Show Network, Biggdogg Chico channel, and Dukes the Scoop. All right. Until next time, I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to the beach today. I know y'all think I live in Hawaii and I go to the beach all the time. No, I haven't been to the beach in weeks. But on this happy Valentine's Day, we're going to go take the little ones to the beach and enjoy some sun. All right. Until next time, I'll be up and about this thing. Hit the like, subscribe, comment, all the other good stuff. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah. Buff 'em updates. We out of here.
How much you spending on your preparation? I'm about them binges so to win and be the motivation. Determination is intention plus the willpower. Real power, pressure you should feel. Ours bills tower. Over us, I overcome. I'm overcomes. I need direct transactions. Don't wanna wait till you load the funds. You hold the funds and Joe's will come. Promote the curve.